Hello, welcome back. Hope you're getting ready for week 4. Congrats on making it this far. We are getting ready for mid-season of the NFL, believe it or not. Time's going by quick, and the injuries are really piling up. Let's jump right into it and talk about our first team here, Cincinnati Bengals. With Joe Burrow now out, we're going to see all their playmakers struggle as a result of it. In this game, it was not supposed to be a good one. Battle of the backups, we had Carson Wentz and Jake Browning out there at QB. But yeah, the Bengals offense, despite that, still looked terrible. Scrolling down here, let's start with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think one thing to note is that Jamar Chase, even with terrible quarterback play, will likely finish as one of the top 5, top 10 wide receivers. Now, of course, that is a significant dip to his overall draft value. He's going to provide a lot of value to you as the season goes on. He's going to be dropped in a bunch of leagues. This week, he had a serviceable week. He rushed once for 9 yards, 5 to 6 receptions for 50 yards. Did lose a fumble, but about 8.9 points. If he hits your waivers, you should still be bidding aggressively on him, again, as a top 5, top 10 receiver, at about maybe 23 to low 30, maybe 31% of your FAAB. But that is not the same for T. Higgins. T. Higgins will struggle as the wide receiver 2 on a lackluster offense. Again, when you have a bad quarterback game, they're going to pummel targets towards that elite wide receiver. And so even though the overall production will be down for the offense and Jamar Chase will still maintain his value, whereas I'm worried that T. Higgins might not. And it showed in this game. T. Higgins was 1 of 2 targets, 15 yards, total of 2.5 points. If he hits your waivers this week, I'd be bidding fairly lightly on him in the 6 to 13% range, hoping that he finishes around the wide receiver 20-ish on the season. One other play in this game, we have the Bengals running back. We have Chase Brown. Chase Brown rushed 10 times for just 3 yards, and I think that the bigger concern here is if Chase Brown is not going to get touchdowns in this offense and not get consistent receiving action, it is going to significantly tank his value as well. Now, luckily in this game, he was 4 of 5 for 17 yards. It kind of saved his week. He totaled 6 points. He's going to hit waivers in a lot of leagues, and I would still be bidding fairly aggressive on him. His stock is definitely dropping, but I might bid around the 10 to 16% range on him. Another game that was a surprise blowout this week, and maybe not also the best quarterback battle, is going to be this Saints-Seahawks game. And there's just one player I want to highlight here, and that is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara did not have his greatest game. He just had 6.6 points as well. He was 18 for 42 on the ground, just 1 of 2 in the air for 14 yards. And Alvin Kamara, we've seen him perform well on bad offenses. His value primarily is also through the air. And so to see just 1 of 2 receptions is going to be tough for him. But I do believe he will still be consistently involved in this offense, and he will remain around the running back 10 to 20 range throughout the season. And I believe that he will be able to start on your team until about week 14. And how do I get that number? Well, I just recently added a tool to the weekly FAAB guide where, based on your league settings, based on how many running back slots or wide receiver slots you have, it'll show you how long a player will be able to start on your team. And so, for example, if Alvin Kamara is the 14th best running back in the league, he will start on your team until about week 14. Now, obviously, if your team's stronger or weaker, that may change, but just as a rough estimate. And so given that he might start on your team until week 14, I would be bidding fairly aggressive on him. I might be bidding in the range of around 13 to 18% on Alvin Kamara. Despite a bad offense and despite a potential quarterback change in the future, he's still a locked and loaded RB1 or 2 for your team. Moving into another surprising result from this week is going to be this Packers-Browns game. There's just 2 players I want to highlight here. First will be a receiver for the Green Bay Packers, and that is Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs was 2 of 2 for 25 yards, 4.5 points, pretty standard day. But I think the worry is that even without Jaden Reed being out of this offense, Tucker Kraft being a little bit banged up, we are still seeing a heavy target distribution across all of their playmakers. And so there's not really a great opportunity for Dobbs to step up into some elite league-winning role. And so if you have Romeo Doubs, I would be trying to bench him ASAP. If he's on waivers, maybe 1 to 2% max. But ultimately, I don't think he's a player you're going to be able to start for very long, and he has very limited upside on this team. That being said, he might be a trade candidate come mid-season, but by mid-season, I don't think we'll be wanting to start him anyways. And then on the opposite side of the ball, we have Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, 1 of 5 targets for 17 yards, so 2.7 points. Even though Jerry Jeudy has a slightly higher upside and that we've seen him play very well before, this Browns offense, as mentioned in previous weeks, is just not one we want to be targeting. Overall, as an offense, has very little upside, and therefore Jerry Jeudy will not be on our team very late into the season. Per the FAAB guide, I have him on your team and starting until about week 5 or 6, which is coming up sooner than you think. And so maybe toss in a bid of anywhere from 2 to 6% of your FAAB as a holdover, and you're out the flex spot for a week or two. But do not bid very aggressively on Jerry Jeudy. And then we're going to talk about James Conner. If you have James Conner, you can toss him on your IR spot, or you can just outright drop him. He's confirmed out for the season. And Trey Benson is going to be stepping up into that role. Now, if you're curious on Trey Benson, I'm going to release a video later today with a full outline of all the other running backs that are taking over for injured backs and the opportunity they provide. So again, later today, check that out. I'll deep dive into that. Similar thing for Najee Harris. If he's on your team, confirmed out, ACL tear, Marion Hampton will be a key feature in that feature video. Moving on, we have the Cowboys and the Bears. Another huge injury here is going to be the CeeDee Lamb injury. CeeDee Lamb got a high ankle sprain. I don't believe got any catches or targets prior to it. The Cowboys mentioned that he's out 3 to 4 weeks, might go on IR. I believe they have a week 5 bye. I don't know if that helps them or hurts them in this case. But CeeDee Lamb will be back later in the season. He's going to be a top contributor when he does come back. This offense is a heavily passing offense, and hoping that Dak Prescott is still healthy when he does get back. CeeDee Lamb's someone we want to have in our team. That being said, Guillotine leagues, we have to prioritize the now over the future just to make sure we survive. If CeeDee Lamb hits waivers, I would still bid fairly aggressive on him. I think with the injury, not a lot of people are going to go heavier on him. So I might bid in the 15 to low 20% range on him. Obviously depends on your team composition. And then if you do happen to have Dak Prescott, or if he happens to hit waivers, he put up about 12-ish points this week. And if he's on waivers, I might be bidding 2 to 4% on him. But again, if we refer to that FAAB guide, he might only be starting on your team until weeks 5, 6, or 7. And I think we're going to be looking to replace him as soon as possible, especially with the CeeDee Lamb injury. And then moving into our Sunday night game, we had the Kansas City Chiefs and New York Giants. The player I want to talk about here is Tyrone Tracy Jr. He had 7 rushes, 29 yards, 2 receptions of 3 targets for 7 yards, and total of 5.6 points. Pretty standard day, but the key focus is that he is going to be missing some time. As of recording this video, I haven't seen how long he will be out. I'm assuming it's going to be a couple weeks, hopefully avoiding IR. But because he's missing time and he's already on the verge of starting or not for your team, he might be a player you want to drop or maybe hold on your bench spot. Hold on your bench if you have the room for him. But the idea is that when he comes back, he will be playing behind Cam Skattebo at that point. And he doesn't have that much upside in this Giants offense. So Tyrone Tracy, someone to drop, or just hold on your bench for now if you want to wait and hear more about the injury news. Moving into this Patriots-Steelers game, I got a couple of Patriots I want to talk about. The first is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. He was 4 for 18 yards and 3 of 3 for 28 yards. Again, the reception saving his day a little bit, but he also had 2 fumbles lost, and so that totaled about 4.6 points. But I think ignoring all the points, the 2 fumbles lost is the key of this game. Ramondre Stevenson is a largely inefficient back. He was for most of last season, or at least towards the end of it, I believe, and has been for most of this season, except last week. And so I think the Patriots drafted Travion Henderson with the goal of replacing Ramondre in mind, and the 2 fumbles lost is a perfect opportunity to get that rookie more touches in this offense. And so Ramondre might be seeing himself drop into the RB2 or even RB3 role on this team behind Antonio Gibson. Ramondre, you might want to bid 1 to 2% on if he's on your waivers. I might personally not, as I think his upside is going to be very limited. And again, if you want to hear more about Travion Henderson, will be included in the video, as well as Cam Skattebo from the previous game. And then the other player here I wanted to talk about was Stephon Diggs, a player I haven't mentioned in previous weeks, but he's kind of been on a lull for the last 3 weeks. I believe at max maybe 8 or 9 points in his best game this season. And this one he was 3 of 3 for 23, putting up 5.3 points. You can bid, again, 1 to 2% on him if you really need a flex play, but your goal should be to bench Stephon Diggs as soon as possible. Another AFC team and receiver I want to talk about is going to be Keon Coleman, and I think the same thing applies to him. He was 3 of 4, 20 yards, total of 5 points. You might want to bid 1 to 2% on him, but you should be looking to bench him as soon as possible. Now, when we're doing this, I might choose to bench Keon Coleman over a player like Stephon Diggs, because at least I believe that Keon Coleman provides upside, whereas Stephon Diggs, I think if he still had it from his previous years, we would have seen flashes of it by now. And so the fact that we haven't is a little bit discouraging, whereas at least Keon Coleman has still shown those flashes and has potential in the future. He's a bench stash for now, though, at his best. And then moving into another high-scoring game, we have the Commanders and Raiders. The player I want to talk about first is going to be Deebo Samuel. Now, we have to contextualize that this is a game without Jaden Daniels. This is a Marcus Mariota-led game. Now, the offense still looked pretty good, but Deebo Samuel didn't have the greatest day. 3 for 18 on the ground and 2 of 3 receptions for 11 yards. It's 4.9 points. I would bid maybe 2 to 3% on him. He might still be flex-worthy for the time being, especially when Jaden Daniels gets back, which ideally should be this week or next week. But in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, Deebo Samuel is someone we're going to want to be moving to our bench by, again, around week 6, so we should not be bidding too aggressively on him. And then also in the same game, we are going to have Ashton Jeanty on the Raiders. Ashton Jeanty, 17 rushes, 63 yards, no targets or receptions, which I believe is a little bit odd, especially playing down in this game. So even though he put up 6.3 points in this game, I think this is a little bit of an outlier for him. He should be getting, even if it's just 1 or 2 receptions a game, a little bit more involved than he was in this one. Though 17 carries is a great sign for him. I'd be bidding aggressively on Ashton Jeanty if he hits your waivers in the range of the high teens, say 18% to the high 20s, 28%. He is a player that ideally should be up until your championship roster, especially if he improves as the season goes on. And then the last player I want to talk about from our Monday night game is going to be Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews, who's been on this list for the last 2 weeks, has avoided himself from being a three-peat. But this week, it was Zay Flowers, who was not heavily targeted in this offense. The Ravens as a whole, just a primary rushing offense from both Derrick Henry and Lamar. And so it hurts some of their receiving weapons. And sometimes that's Mark Andrews, sometimes that's Zay Flowers. This week it was Flowers, just had 3 targets total, caught 2 of them for 13 yards. That's 3.3 points. On Zay Flowers' best weeks, like the past few weeks, it has been long touchdowns, generally few targets, and he's successful with that. But as I mentioned for Mark Andrews, the same goes for Zay Flowers, where he is not the player that we are looking to have in a Guillotine league. If you can swap him for a similarly ranked player, but maybe more consistent than a player like Zay Flowers, I would find a way to do so. If he hits your waivers, he is still flex-worthy, and because he has a little bit of upside built in on just a week-to-week basis, he might be flex-worthy for quite some time. I would be bidding in the range of about 7 to 12%. Hope that helped you with your bids this week. And again, I'm going to be releasing a video later today talking a little bit more in depth about some of the first and second year running backs that have a new potential. And so feel free to check that out, and thank you for watching.